Good evening, and welcome to another apocalyptic version of Diatribes from the voice of Doom. Now here's your apologetic and apoplectic host, voice of Doom. Okay. It's November 4th, year of our Lord 2024. And unless there's a serious incident in the next 18 hours, then apparently we will have some sort of an election day. And it may reach the end to where they can start tallying up the votes. Now, if you're like me, you've probably been watching all kinds of media to ascertain the lay of the land. And they all have finally caught up with what I've been saying for the last 4 years, which is annoying, because they're acting like it's something new. I can't count how many major news outlets have said we're doomed. And they're not fooling around. It always was, this too shall pass, America's strong, we will always remain a very strong country. We will pass through this time of turmoil. No. Sorry. Not going to happen. No matter what happens tomorrow, we are in big trouble. And I'll tell you why. First of all, it's a given that if Orangey wins, there will be raw, rampant rioting throughout the length and breadth of every corner of the urban areas of what used to be the United States. It's obvious. But I really never thought of the other side, and I discount it to a certain degree, but I watched Canadian Prepper last night, and he's a Canadian, and he's pretty apolitical as far as who is who and who should win. Now, I know just from listening to him that his sentiments are not left-wing, but he really doesn't care who wins. Now, he was talking about the election, and he put up a poll that he did among preppers. And it had nothing to do with who they would vote for. It was just a poll on what would be the effect of the outcome of a certain outcome. Surprised me. Apparently, if Gargoyle wins, there's a 47% chance, according to the polls, that there will be civil war. And I find that hard to believe, because even the logistics of a civil war would entail a lot of violence and a lot of just not any cohesion. Whoever the military is on the side of, that's who's going to win. Now, if suddenly there's some sort of a coup d'etat where the military says, we're not going to fall, we're not going to put up with this, and we're going to go on the side of the rebels, who obviously won't like Gargoyle one bit, then we got a different kettle of fish. They may have to call in NATO against themselves, the U.S., what used to be government. But I just don't see that as happening, because people are complacent. People don't care. They won't care until they're bodily driven from their homes into the street with no recourse, no one to turn to for help. That's when they'll wake up, and it'll be too late. They'll freeze to death. And so, on the eve of destruction, I would just like to make a little epitaph to what used to be the United States and say that no matter what happens, it's going to be bad. We all know this. And more people. When I started 4 years ago, it was like 10 people who actually thought that they should prepare for a disaster. Now it's mainstream as a cottage industry. And everywhere you look, it's like, are you prepared for a possible disaster? Well, if you're not, you better buy our generator, buy our food supply, buy our this, buy our that. I mean, everything. I mean, Amazon will get into it too. Since they're going to take over all the retail of everything, they will sell millions of generators and millions of pallets of rations. CMEs, whatever you call it, RMEs, MRE, whatever, MREs. Could be a CME coming soon because the solar activity is very high through 25, and so we might get a CME, which would be absolutely disastrous. The Carrington effect of 1859 burned out the telegraph wires. That was the only grid we had. So it was negligible. The damage was repaired quickly and life went on. A CME now would wipe out 90% of the world's population in a year because we're too used to electricity. I'm starting to get used to not having heat. I could turn the heater on, but I don't want to. I don't want to pay the high gas bill. And I could turn the air conditioning on in the summer, but I don't. Because I don't want to pay the high electrical bill. So I'm learning to live using space heaters and blankets. And when the space heaters go out, it'll just be blankets. Since I've been a bear many lifetimes, I'm used to hibernating, and I will just crawl into bed and conserve my resources. Now, I have already resigned myself to the fact that Gargoyle will probably win because the cheating will be rampant and with impunity, and it'll be right in your face. And that's just the way it is. We've convoluted the voting system so badly that it's irreparable. It's not ever going to get better. So I'm not going to weep or gnash my teeth or render my garments or cover myself with ashes and wear sackcloth when the historic election of the first so-called female of color is elected president of what used to be the United States. I'm not going to weep and gnash my teeth because I can see it coming. And if I'm surprised and it goes the other way, I will celebrate. And I will be extremely happy for many reasons. But the main happiness will be watching the rampant hypocrisy of the other side turn turtle and become exactly what they were saying they didn't like. Voter fraud. There's no such thing. Election interference. No such thing. As long as we win, there's no such thing. Insurrection. These damn MAGA Republicans storming the Capitol, breaking windows, turning that into a big pile of lies. And when you look at it, pretty much the government at large and the media are just all liars that say whatever the hell they want. And they interpret things any way they want. Many times I see on the news, Trump calls for firing squad for Liz Cheney, who's such a hero, who we hated 5 years ago, but now she's a hero. Come on. It's almost over. Tomorrow's going to be rioting no matter how you look at it. Now, if the MAGAs riot because Gargoyle is declared the winner, then it's going to be just like last time, only worse. Because I'm sure, judging from me, how I feel as a pacifist, there's got to be people out there that will be so angry that they will do just about anything. And I wouldn't want to be a politician. I wouldn't want to be a member of the news media. I wouldn't want to be a celebrity. Because with all your millions and millions of dollars you've earned, all you can afford is to have a very nicely appointed fallout shelter and sit there in comfort, away from everything else. It's all you can hope for, because if you show your head, you know what's going to happen. Because people aren't going to put up with this. They're going to be absolutely irrational. And if you can't go out to dinner, and you can't go out to shop, or you can't go to a movie, or whatever rich people do, because there's people that are gunning for you, then what good is the quality of life? I mean, it's no good. I'd rather be poor. I'd rather be a nobody. I'd rather nobody even noticed I was alive than be Joe Scarborough or Giraffe or Joy, both Joys, or Whoopi, or any of them. I wouldn't want to be them because they're not going to be safe. And I'm not making threats. I'm not going to do nothing. I'm just saying what I can see happening. People are going to get angry. And when goppers get really, really, really angry, then it's not like throwing a Molotov cocktail at a Lululemon store. It's going to be serious violence. And then it will be civil war, but it'll be the military being called in against the American citizenry. But I just am sick of it. I don't care what happens really, because either way we're doomed. And parenthetically, I will say, my best friend in Carson City, was put in hospice 3 days ago, and 2 days ago he was deceased. I was going to visit him with my other friend. We were going to get a little, reunion to see him, because he knows that he's terminal, so I don't know what I'm going to say, but we'll just be there. And his brother calls and says, don't bother going to the hospital. He is deceased. So I will now divulge some of the details. He drank a lot of beer throughout his life. And even up until the last 2 years, he drank maybe 12 beers a day. In his earlier days, he was in rock bands, and then he lived a party life, and he did things that I wouldn't do. Like, for instance, he used needles. He had unprotected sex with strangers, etc., etc. This is the 70s and 80s. I didn't do those things. I did marijuana, and I had girlfriends that were long-term, but I was not a gadabout, and I was not a partier in that I would stick a needle in my arm. So 2 years ago, they said he was in the hospital for some such ailment, and they said, if you don't stop drinking, you will die. So he stopped drinking that day and never had a drink after that, which I really admire. If I could say anything that I admire about this guy, is that when he decides to change, he changes. He doesn't go through DTs. He doesn't go through any mood swings. He just stopped drinking, and he never drank. Now, he's doing great. He's gaining weight. He's a small guy. He's just a 5'6", 5", 130 pounds. But he started gaining weight. He was sharp. He wasn't drinking. And then they decided, well, we're going to deal with your hepatitis C, which you've had because of your lifestyle in the past. And he said, okay. They gave him a regimen of a thing called Epclusa. And this is a drug to kill the virus that causes hepatitis C. And as he was taking it, he was getting worse and worse and worse. And he couldn't eat, and he was achy, and he was tired, and he was every possible side effect you could have from Epclusa he had. Until he was finally admitted to the hospital, where he languished for about a week and a half, and then was put in hospice and is now deceased. So it is a cautionary tale for all of us, and it is also suspicious, because for one thing, if he's getting worse and worse with this pharmaceutical, maybe it would have been better just to leave well enough alone. But no, we want to treat you for this, because you have it, so we'll treat you and we'll kill you. Now, the topper is that his brother yesterday went down to the hospital with my friend's daughter, who was semi-estranged, to see him. And when they went in the room, he was not responding. And so the brother said, "Nurse, can you come and check this out? He's not moving." And the nurse came in and apparently said, "Your brother is deceased." I asked him what the time of death was. It was 8 p.m. the night before. The brother went in around 9 or 10 a.m. So I don't know what the hospice thing is like. When I saw him the last time, which was the day he died, he was only hooked up to some fluids, but he was not, there was no monitors, nothing was beeping. They weren't looking at his blood pressure or heart rate. So when he died, nobody knew it. When his heart stopped beating, there was no indication or signal to the nurse, "Yeah, check room 109 and see what's going on." At least do that much. But they didn't, so there will be litigation, I'm sure. But another close person in my universe is gone, and I am sorry. I'm not only sorry that he's gone, but I'm sorry that maybe I caused it. I mean, in a way I did, because I'm destroying my universe and everyone around it and in it. So from my standpoint, I'm a black widower. Everyone around me is doomed because of my attitude, trying to warn people. So I'll leave it there. Tomorrow's election day, and then we will see what happens. Either way, there's going to be turmoil on an epic scale. So that's that. I'm done, and have a good night.